To be the energy encapsulates the belief that everyone has the potential to be a source of strength, motivation, and change for themselves and for those around them, to leave a lasting impact on the world, one community initiative, one positive interaction, one human connection at a time. To be the energy that fuels a healthier, happier, more connected world. Because after all, you don't change the world by changing the world. You change the world by inspiring the people in it. These are the stories of the people who are changing the world. Welcome to the Be the Energy podcast. Welcome back. We got another episode today, this time with our very own Hai Luong. Some of you may know Hai, but today we're going to talk about some things that you may not know about him. He tells us his story all the way back from his family escaping from Vietnam and coming to the United States, some of the challenges that he's faced throughout his life, how he overcame them, all the way up to where he is now as a spine doctor, and even teaches some classes for us here at Power Pack. Hai drops some absolute gems of wisdom in this episode, talking about mindset, different ways to look at and overcome difficult times in your life, and the importance of true connection and community in your life, and being the energy for yourself and for those around you. Super great episode. Super stoked to bring it to you. Let's do it. Well, shall we start from the very beginning?
Yeah, let's start from the beginning.
Let's start from the
The
beginning.
beginning of time. My name's Hai, by the way, for people who don't know me. Beginnings of Hai. I was born in Vietnam, and my family were refugees. We escaped when I was only 6 months old. My dad fought with the United States and with the South Vietnamese. And then the Vietnam War just went to shit. It was a messy war. My dad ended up in a re-education camp. And so for 3 years, he was out there. And eventually, so we escaped, got to Hong Kong, where we meaning myself, my parents, and their siblings, brothers and sisters. There was a total of 12 of us. And yeah, we crashed the boat into an island near Hong Kong, and we were there for a year.
That's intense.
Yeah.
So like when you say escape, like what does that look like? Does that mean just kind of waltzing your way onto a boat or not really?
No, this is like the movies. This is like first attempt, giving people cash or gold or whatever currency it was, hiding in the dark of the night, and then trying to get onto a boat. Which failed 2 times. And so ultimately we were scammed one time, and another time it didn't work. The third time, we're like hiding in the dark. Everyone piles into the hull of a ship. There's, I think, 100 of us or something. It's just a wild number.
How old were you when this was going on?
So I was 6 months old.
Oh, okay. So you don't really remember.
I don't recollect anything at all during this transition in my life. So for 3 days we're on this boat. Something happens, they hit rock or something with a leak, and the crew abandons the hole. That's in the middle of and so the refugees who knew how to maneuver this boat ultimately got it close enough to Hong Kong and just crashed it onto the shore of this like island off of Hong Kong. Where we tried to persist for what we did for a year. I almost died. I was really sick at one point. My dad they would do odd jobs just to try to make means, the basic means like food and My birth date's messed up because of it.
Hmm.
So my documentation says January 12th as my birthday, everything. But my real birthday is October 12th. They made me younger to get free milk. So there's like lots of sacrifices, a lot of, I mean, literally like movie refugee,
Yeah.
like
Dude, the very first chapter of your life is like an entire storybook.
it's crazy. Yeah, it's a book for sure. My family, they've been through a lot. My dad's been through a lot. My mom's been through a lot. We held off on, I think, other offers to go and get citizenship in other countries. So I think one of them was Australia. And my dad wanted to wait until we got acceptance into this United States. And that's why it was that 1 year period. And I am assuming at that point with the acceptance, we flew. And we got sponsorship in Rapid City, South Dakota. And we wanted someplace like Houston with a similar climate.
Yeah.
And Houston has a giant Vietnamese community, but Rapid City, South Dakota also had a very small Vietnamese community. It was an amazing, very generous church group that sponsored our family. Awesome. And so again, it was 12 of us, my uncles and aunts, my mom and dad. My sister wasn't born yet. And that's where I was raised, Rapid City, South Dakota. It's where Mount Rushmore is for people who don't.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Country living.
100%. Okay, right on. So you get to the United States. You guys are living here in South Dakota. And, you know, you can fast forward a little bit if you like, but what's kind of next big thing on your journey?
So timeline wise, fast forward, parents, culturally, I mean, it's a hard culture for women. And my mom is a superwoman and she needed more than what she was getting. And my parents separated, divorced. I was 12 at the time. Fast forward a little bit more. She's in California. I knew, my sister and I both knew that we would eventually move with her. And so that landed me in Healdsburg, California, north of Santa Rosa, north of San Francisco. And that's where I went to high school through 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. And it was hard. It was really hard. Transition, change, I think is difficult for any human being, but for me, it's always been difficult. And no established friends, starting a new school. That's where I think my anchor point back then was gymnastics. And gymnastics was my sport. It was what I did out of, kind of soccer and swimming, and we kind of teased those out. My sister, her thing was dance. And so she was a dancer, I was a gymnast, and we persevered in those activities. It was an anchor when all I did was spend hours practicing at the gym because it's so demanding. And then I had to do my schoolwork, right? And so a lot of it was just dedication to those two things through high school.
Yeah, it sounds like you learned a lot of discipline and, other things like that pretty early on. I mean,
yeah, you kind of have to just take charge of your life, right? Because what else can you do when you're 12 and you don't have a mother figure that usually does things like buys healthy food and cooks dinner? And my sister and I were doing laundry, and she was probably like 9, I was 11. We'd go through the grocery and just throw in like frozen pizzas and cereal and milk. But my dad did his best, right? And my mom had to do her best, and so it was sacrifice. And yeah, when sacrifice and challenges come into the picture, I think humans just have to figure it out. And I did what I needed to do in high school to get through
Yeah.
what I thought was important back then.
Yeah. The gymnastics obviously was a pretty big part of
Yeah.
that period. And obviously then, and at that point, your first sort of inroad into physical fitness and things like that. Did you continue that on for a while? What was that?
So from age 6 to age 18, it kind of fell apart in high school. Gymnastics is a hard sport to be in. The coach I had, Brian McCoy, I mean, I just, your team and, traveling and competing, I love those guys, right? And my coach was another, I mean, he was like another parent to me, right? So yeah, it just, it was a big part of my life, and it was a big influence on my fitness and perspective on health and how I took care of myself. I mean, I didn't do the typical things in high school that kids get into because it was gymnastics. Then drink coffee, then try smoking a cigarette. I was really good. And then, until I quit. And then it's like, okay, well,
Right. You didn't have that anchoring. But I'm imagining that also, probably was something in your life that you also were able to learn, like the value of having a bit of a community around you, right? Because you had a gymnastics team and you had a coach and you had something there that was an anchor for you in maybe other parts of your life, maybe that didn't feel as stable or predictable in other ways. Like I imagine that was something you could kind of lean on, that was a consistency.
100%. I mean, and that's, even to this day, I'm just striving to find balance and consistency, right? And back then, yeah, just, I knew it was important for me to get good grades, and I didn't know where I was going to go with it. You know, every proud Asian parent wants their kid to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. And maybe that was going to happen with me. Maybe it wasn't. I knew, like I was really good at ceramics. I got a scholarship for it. My ceramics teacher loved me. I did all sorts of cool stuff.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. A ceramics scholarship.
Yeah, that's a couple $100.
Very cool, but still, that's unique. I like that.
Yeah. I like working with my hands. I just like organic things. I love plants. I love animals. I love the biology aspects of things. I had a garden when I was in South Dakota. I grew all sorts of vegetables that I didn't eat. I didn't like vegetables.
But you liked going, huh? That's cool.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure that biological inclining kind of led you down a path for sure, eventually, right? I mean,
for sure. So my head was very just nose in the books with my biology studies and math and science. And that led me to follow a degree at UC Santa Cruz. That was my next big transition. And I went into the pre-med major, which was molecular, cellular, and developmental biology, with the goal and preparation of doing something in a healthcare field. And that transition was hard. And it was only to Santa Cruz, right? It was probably a 2.5 hour move. That first year was really hard for me. I ended up dropping down my course load. I think that first or second quarter, it was just a struggle, trying to find balance, find consistency, find an anchor. And it's hard when you leave and you don't have someone like a mom around again, second time around in my life where, you're doing your own laundry, you're cooking your own food. I lived off of ramen very consistently for the first couple of quarters. Um, and um, and then those things smooth out because you figure it out. I mean, you have to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Um, I started diving, so I started finding things in Santa Cruz that I connected with. And so naturally, the transition from gymnastics to 1 meter and 3 meter springboard diving happened. And I did that for about a year. It was fun, but it wasn't as serious as gymnastics was. Um, Again, my studies kind of prevailed. The focus was on building a good foundation for whatever doors may be available going into a healthcare field going forward.
So did that pan out? I mean, did you end up pursuing it?
Yeah, so I graduate UC Santa Cruz in 2001, and I'm totally burnt out. I am not an academic person. Studying is very hard for me, and it stressed me out. Anyways, yeah, I was just burnt out, and I did a full stop on all things academic, and I just wanted to take a year off. I wanted to pause and reevaluate, like, if I had enough energy to even go into medical school. I was looking at going into physical therapy school. I was looking at chiropractic. So in this 1 year off, that was probably the most valuable year to this day in my life when I look back in it. I coached gymnastics in Santa Cruz. I worked with developmentally disabled adults. And I had this amazing time going home, not having to crack open any academic books, learning how to cook, really spending a lot of time like chopping and prepping and doing all those things, pouring a glass of wine, walking around with my dog at the time, and just listening to the ocean, the waves crash, feeling the fog and mist on my face, just like all those little magical life things that aren't big things, but things that we overlook easily that can really just affect your energy, right? Right. And so just slowing that down, I found out I actually like reading in that year. I took care of someone's house and I read the first Chronicle of Narnia book. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is cool.
It's a lot different than a biochemistry.
It's a lot different than reading organic chemistry or eukaryotic biology. That stuff sucks compared to Chronicles of Narnia. So it made a big difference in discovering myself that year, discovering parts of me that, this question comes up a lot. Like, who am I? Like, what do I stand for? And who do I want to be? And a lot of that year was valuable in laying down some of the foundation for answering that question, right? I don't think there's ever an ultimate, like, finished answer because I'm still working on all those things now, but but that year was vital.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess what stands out to me in that is that, it is very easy to get caught up in the overwhelming sort of pressure of the day to day, especially when you're doing something as rigorous as a pre-med degree or, working a really demanding job or something like that. It's very much, go, go, go. And sometimes it's difficult to see the bigger picture. And because you're very zoomed in, you're very focused on what you have to do next. And there's always something coming at you. So you're so busy, you never really have time to reflect on any of the things that you were talking about, and giving yourself that space, that time to basically, I don't know, it sounds like reconnect with yourself with other things in life that matter, with, just like you were saying, cooking, but not just like throwing a thing of ramen in the microwave just to get sustenance in your body. It's like, no, connecting with the process of cooking, of preparing something. Right. And so it sounds like it was very much an opportunity for you to reconnect with your life, and then in turn yourself, which is difficult to do. You're so busy all the time. And so that sounds like that was a pretty useful year off for you.
For sure. It was, like you said, it's just, you get swept away. I mean, we all have schedules and itineraries, and those are important. I mean, that's how we are successful. We have to structure our lives. Yeah. But I think that it's also a fast track to burnout when you lose sight of why you're doing what you're doing and all the things around you. I was driving here today and it had rained, and driving down the street, I was just awed by the yellow leaves and the fall colors, and just the sun was just shimmering, and I love pausing to enjoy those little moments, and they're free, they're everywhere, right? And I've learned a lot in that process. Maybe it was through that year, but just those little pauses are so valuable. And yeah, it's important to reflect on that balance, right? That's awesome. Perspective.
Okay, so you took a year off.
Yeah.
Then what?
And then I was like, well, this is what I tell other people kind of moving through the process of figuring things out, is shadow someone that does what you think you might like to do, right? Because that was key. I shadowed 2 doctors. They were DOs, doctors of osteopathy. And what that means is ultimately there's 2 medical schools. It was very confusing. It still is confusing for a lot of people. They go to the hospital and they see a doctor with a DO and a doctor with an MD. Well, I'm a DO. And I shadowed 2 DOs who loved their lives and loved their jobs. And they happened to be physical medicine and rehabilitation doctors, or physiatrists or physiatrists. There's all these synonyms. And I was like, I love what you guys do. You're like, guys, about function and getting people back to established form after injury, after any kind of alteration of function, right? And I was just super enthralled that I found this, and that gave me the drive to go, okay, let's switch gears and go for it. And took the MCAT twice. That was horrible. The tests are, I suck at them. They're really difficult. So I didn't score as well as I wanted to the first time. Took it again. Took the pre-courses to help get my, test scores up, and then I applied. And so, taking the test 2 times, that was about a year period. The application was another year. So really, the gap between my graduation from UC Santa Cruz and my starting medical school in Arizona was a 3-year gap. So I came in as an older medical student. Before I started medical school, right when I got acceptance into the Midwestern University in Arizona, I planned a big trip, and I ended up traveling for 5 months in Southeast Asia. Which is the only time I would be able to do that in my life, right? I knew that once I started medical school, that type of trip would be out the door. I went to Thailand. I hiked in Nepal. I did that trip solo, and then I met up with my buddy back in Thailand, and then we went to Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, and that was just an amazing experience of, again, exploring those questions of like, what kind of person am I, and who do I want to be, and like, what's important in this life, right? I can remember walking with my pack, and I was alone on the trail at the time on the Annapurna Trek in Nepal. It's about an 18-day loop, and you walk and you stay at these little, they're people's homes, but you eat there and then you sleep there, but you do this amazing trek. And it's just, again, finding presence in that moment, feeling my feet step on the ground, feeling my breath work, thinking about the force that is and physics of like my knee joint, and just like, nerding out on like anatomy to my science and stuff. But taking that moment to be mindful, right? So mindfulness is something that I was already doing back then, but really discovering and fine tuning later on in life as other challenges pop up, and with that mindset of balance, right? And so, yeah, so that was my in between UC Santa Cruz graduation, getting through the testing, getting into medical school, and then medical school was a whole different beast. I'm shocked that I made it through medical school. It was really fucking hard for me. And so I got through those first 2 years of clinical. It's just book work. I'm sorry. The second 2 years are like more clinical and rotations, but I barely survived. I was drowning in not only information, books, testing, but just physically like unhealthy, like all-nighters, staying up as late as I could studying, caffeine, coffee, monsters. And I probably worked out like 4 times at the school gym, like those 2 years. It was awful. It was not healthy for me, but I made it through. And I made it through because I leaned on people who, were going through the same things. I had a group of friends and we supported each other, and we got through together, right? It was a difficult time, but then the second 2 years were easier, and it was a little bit easier transitioning and doing rotations and tasting a little bit of each field and going through OB-GYN and doing, pediatrics and surgery and, getting a little taste before my next transition. So these are like 4-year blocks. It's just like stacks on top of each other. I get into my internship and residency, and I do residency here at UC Davis Medical Center. That's what brings me to Sacramento. And I'm very happy to be back in California. Arizona was not like a good and a nice environment for me. It was just too hot and dry. And so I come to Sacramento and I have the same transition change issues. It's really hard for me.
Change is hard, man.
It's really hard. Yeah. I'm happy to be back closer to the people that I love and my family. But I get through residency and I hated Sacramento. I wanted to finish and get a job somewhere out in Santa Rosa or, closer to northern area, Bay Area. But I finish and actually head back to Arizona for an extra year of spine training. So I do spine injections. Fast forward, that's what I do now. I do spine injections. I'm a spine interventionalist at Kaiser Permanente. And that was 1 year of training back in Arizona. They offered me a job there. I politely declined because I knew my heart was in California. What I didn't think was it would be in Sacramento. And I interviewed. The group here was great. I'm still with the same group. So I'm at the same job that I got straight out of my fellowship training. And I just started developing my roots. They kept getting deeper and deeper. And the circle of people here got stronger. And I love it here now. That's I can't think of any other place that I would want to be. Yeah.
What does growing roots for you look like?
Yeah. Um, there's this triad, right? Where when we were looking for jobs, they said there's three components that you need to look at, right? There's location, there's salary, and then there's doing what you actually want to do. Those three components, right? And so, when I looked at that triad, I mean, Sacramento was in California, so that was one. The salary there was good. Doing what I got to do hit the mark too. So all three things like moved me here, right?
Yeah.
But what it didn't include, because they're just talking about a job, right? And when I talk about growing roots, it comes down to my people, right?
Mm.
And my community. And I guess you can call that location, but I didn't grow roots until I established myself here. I rented a place here for that first year because I didn't know. I might hate it and didn't want to commit to a house or anything. But after 1 year, I knew I was going to buy a house here. And I had a different circle of people back then. This is back in 2013. I rented a place out in East Sac with another colleague of mine. And it's so amazing because if I hadn't ended up here at this place, my whole circle of people would be different, right? And it trips me out still. But anyways, that's aside from the point. Roots are going to grow no matter what. And I that's what I've learned about myself is my people that I connect with. And I just find a great wealth in that interaction, that symbiosis, the symbiotic relationship of how we all can thrive off of offerings for each other. And that's a really, really huge asset right now in my life is my community.
Well, I mean, it kind of comes back full circle to those other pivotal transitionary moments in your life that you talked about earlier, right? I mean, the big thing when you were a kid was your gymnastics team and you had a community around you, right? You had that.
Yeah.
And you were telling me that your first little gap from school when you were super burnt out was taking the time to reconnect with your life, with yourself. And so you find a group of people that you can connect with truly on a deeper basis. And that sounds like roots to me.
For sure.
I mean, it's like the difference between like a house and a home.
Yeah.
I mean, a house is just a place to live.
Yeah.
But a home is, with the people you live with.
Right.
It's that deeper level of connection. Essentially that makes a lot of sense. So you're in Sacramento now.
Yeah.
What does that community kind of look like? Like, where is it? Who's in it?
I just have to say, I have the most amazing people in my life. I love my people. And I think that's a feeling, right? That's an energy that we all kind of feel and know when we're with the right people. It just is easy, right? It's easy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's so many other layers to that, right? You feel like supported. I could call 10 people right now that would just drop what they're doing and help me out, right? And I read somewhere like in an article that, when you build your community, if you have at least 3 people that you can call that will drop what they're doing for you, you have succeeded in building your community. And so for me to just think of the wealth of friendships, and I would do the same for all my people. Like, that's what I do. I like to help my people out. I want to lift everyone up around me, right? I don't know where that's come from, or maybe that's why, like partly why I wanted to go into medicine and help, elevate people, help them be the best version of themselves possible. So I totally lost track of what you're.
Dude, that was beautiful. Poetry.
Oh, shit.
Basically, like, back in Sacramento, your community, what does that community look like? Yeah. It's obviously amazing.
It's amazing. So yeah, I mean, let's just, when I just go through my week, my community, the biggest part is the gym. Obviously, that's why I'm doing a podcast with you right now for Power Back. What a treasure. What a gift it has been to have this path cross. Again, if I stayed in East Sac, this would have never happened. This would have been a different world altogether, an unknown one. But I end up here at this house, and I become very close friends with Kendra, who is a business owner down the street, Pangea, and then I meet her circle of friends, and we all, after COVID, and we're at a boxing gym together, and we kind of like get out of that gym and end up at Power Pack. And this is during the Thanksgiving, I had to look this up earlier, 2021 Black Friday sale. And, we were making moves, and she says, hey, I went and checked out this gym. It's great. I already signed up. They have this 1-year sale. I signed up, and, but it's only the sale's only right now. And so, if you're interested, let me ask the owner, and see if, you can just, buy it and start later or whatever. Cause I had a shoulder injury at the time. Right.
Yeah.
And so, so I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Cause like, where else? I'm not going to just go work out by myself, or, I've had a 24-hour fitness pass forever now. And I just liked working out with friends, with a group.
Yeah.
Right. And
back
so
to the community. I mean,
and then back to the community. Right. And so anyways, it's me and Kendra at this gym. It's Jane, it's Keith. And we all make our shifts to this new gym. Right. And the funny thing is, I was like, okay, cool, I'm in, whatever, right? Call up the owner, Brandon, picks up the phone. I'm like, oh, hey, I don't know if Kendra's talked to you, but I'm her friend Hai, and I want to buy the Black Friday sale for the year, but I can't start right away because my shoulder's all messed up. He's like, oh yeah, with this Brandon energy, like, yeah, oh, that's so great, come in, try out a class, see if you like it. I was like, nah, like, is it cool? Like, can I just buy the year thing? And I mean, like, what does that entail? Do you just need my credit card number? And he's like, oh, yeah, I mean, totally. But to this day, the story is like, he always remembers that phone call, because it's just like, who does that? Signs up for a year membership. And that's the pull of community, right? That's the, like,
dude, shout out Kendra.
Yeah,
100%
solid, right? And that's how I ended up. I started a couple months later. It was February, and then that was February 2022. Yeah, it's just been there ever since. So the gym, huge source of my day-to-day. My work has been trials and tribulations. It's a difficult job. I see pain patients. They're not happy. Obviously, when we're in pain, we're not the best versions of ourselves. And so burnout, right? Let's go back to that, right? We lose sight. We're just kind of work, and we lose sight of the bigger picture. And then we lose all the little glimmers, the sun shining a pretty way, or the rain on our face, and it's just like then just you lose yourself. And I lost myself. I was in year 9, which was just a couple years ago, and I was so burnt out. I had a bad patient experience, and I went to my chief and resigned. At which point, they were like, whoa, pump the brakes. The difficulty in this was the healthcare system's hard and slow, and I had been requesting a decrease in time for 6 years. And it was a long time to not get any leverage. And so ultimately my patience ran out all the way to the point of total defeat, right? Work defeated me. I defeated myself. I felt, there were failures in different aspects of, I don't know, this is probably being hard on myself, but, it's just perseverance, mental fortitude. But they gave me 4 weeks off to reset. I came back, worked for a couple weeks. My manager gave me some good news. I already knew what it was. They gave me my decreased time. So now I work a very balanced schedule. My work day is decreased. My work week is decreased. I work 70%, which allows me this beautiful Thursday afternoon where I start my weekend, where I get to go to our gym meeting. I get to teach my stretch class in the afternoon. It just rolls right into this beautiful, I have a holiday weekend every week.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And so, getting back on track again.
It was all that beautiful holiday weekend was a long time coming, though. It
was a long time ago.
You not only are working a lot, but the job, that's a tough job, right? I mean, because you see people who are just not happy, and that's got to weigh on you mental, right? And so you basically decided you were going to quit, resign.
Yeah.
And you took the 4 weeks off before coming back. What did you do in those 4 weeks?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I did not know what the hell I was doing. It was a scary moment in my life because it was a jump. It was like I was jumping ship, literally. When my friends asked me, like, did you get another job lined up in a different hospital or what? I told them flat out, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I was done. I was so tired and burnt out that I didn't even want to look people in the face at the end of the day. Like, I didn't want to have any more interactions. And that's not who I am. Like, people who know me, that's not the Hai that they see, So I ultimately packed up my dogs. My sister said, come out to Colorado. That's where she was staying with her boyfriend at the time. She says, we have a room for you. Bring the dogs out. We'll just do chill stuff. And that's what we did. I just kind of walked around and visited different areas of Colorado. Went camping a couple times on the weekends. I just reset. I journaled a lot. I grounded myself. I saw 2 therapists, which is very, very helpful.
There you go.
I saw my own private one, just virtually, and I'd made contact and seen both of these amazing women prior to the event, but so one privately and then the one through work, through our employee assistance program. And they saved me. I even said to there's two new doctors that joined, and they had their introduction, and um, uh, my therapist at work gave them a little kind of brief, like, hey, this is what I do, and this is how I'm here to help. And I wrote them. I was like, she is awesome. She saved me from like complete just obliteration. So I spoke to both virtually, obviously, while I was out there, and just really stop to pause and reflect and to slow things down and to reshape what I wanted, figure out again who I was in this moment of my life, knowing that when I came back to work, that it was going to still be the same job and the same challenge, and accepting that for the time being, because I was still working on an exit plan. Yeah. And then they gave me that drop, and I was like, okay, doable. This is doable. Let's see how, and it's still doable.
Yeah.
And so this day now, I'm in 2 years with this schedule. It's been the biggest blessing, and I still, with my practicing of gratitude and journaling, I write that down all the time. My work-life balance, my ability to have a decreased work schedule is something I'm just so grateful for. I just love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it kind of seems like so far there's a little bit of a pattern. It's like whenever you get into a spot where you are not feeling like you're capable of handling the situation you're in, you've had an opportunity to take a little pause, have a little contrast from that hecticness, I guess.
Yeah.
And having a community or some people around you to be able to lean on and to be able to reconnect with them, with yourself, with that community. I mean, that sounds like it's been a huge, the way you've gotten through pretty much all of these things so far is having some sort of, like you said, roots or some people to lean on. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so when I hear that people are going through difficult times, or just like I used to give like little outreach talks to high school students, or even to like medical students, just knowing that you're not the only one going through a challenge is the first step. And feeling alone is just the worst feeling ever, no matter what it is. Feeling alone in fill in the blank, right? That's just a devastating feeling, and you feel hopeless, right? So the idea that, number one, you're not alone. You're not the first person to go through whatever challenge it is, and look around you, because most people have a network that they can lean on. It's the safety net, right? It's like when you lose your grip on that trapeze act, you start to fucking fall. Like, my net is so strong. Like, it's amazing. Again, that bounce back is solid. And going back to the gym, when this happened, and I was speaking to Sophia back then when she had this small bar room, and we just hung out there afterwards, and we sat and talked for like an hour and a half. Brandon came in later, and I just spilled everything about how hard this transition in my life is, and how confusing it was, and they were very supportive. Maybe just poured out their own personal stories and challenges, and reinforced the fact that, not only as a gym, but just as Sophia and just as Brandon, they were there to support me. as a client. I was just a member client back then, right? And that meant a lot.
Yeah, man, that's really special. I mean, I can second that, as someone who's been a part of other organizations and as someone who's been to many different gyms, like that's bigger than just a gym. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's special. But it all comes back to community, and leaning on each other and really and caring about, the person on the other side of the conversation and really genuinely caring about them and their circumstances and what's best for them. And that oftentimes is, non-gym related. And that's big because you want to take care of the whole person, ideally. And I know you've had a couple of other experiences at the gym that have been, fundamental in kind of shaping you in other ways. So if you want to maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I love talking about this because it's a good, like journaling, it tacks in these little moments in your life where I feel like it provides a foundation or a working process that you can have traction. You can look and go, oh, look at where I was then, and now look at where I am now. And so I love journaling. I love going and reflecting on these turning points. So I joined the gym, and then I get my shoulder rehabbed, and super qualified and knowledgeable trainers. We were doing outside workouts, boot camps out on the parking lot
back in the pandemic days. Yeah,
pandemic days.
You're an OG, man. You are a true OG.
The next year rolls around, and then I do February challenge. And at that point, so that's February 2023, myself and Deb Panantoni are like, look, you're asking your clients to do 28 or 29 days of straight workouts. And we've got one class that's restorative, Monica's lovely, lovely, peaceful yoga class, right? We're like, people are going to get hurt. And Deb, who is a certified massage therapist, for people who don't know, has the most magical skill set and great knowledge in SMR, self-myofascial release. And I saw her when she was at this older gym down the street here, Fitzim back then. And I met her. I was a client, and she just did magical bodywork massage, and it just was awesome. So, so we talked to Brandon and Sophia, and we're like, let's do some recovery classes. And so Deb and I co-taught SMR during that February challenge. Sophia added a stretch class during that challenge. And after February, we kept those classes going. I was asked to take over that stretch class, which I teach on Thursday nights tonight. And I've been doing it since. And that was during the transformation series that I was in, also with Dev and Kendra and a handful of other great people under Mo's direction and coaching. And that was hard, but it was so pivotal in how I saw myself in a gym-based training program. So when I was a gymnast, we didn't even lift weights. Training for gymnastics back then was all body weight, and now it's different. But it was body weight. It was tons of repetitions and core and skill set foundational building. Lifting weights was not something I was familiar with. And so fast forwarding to the gym, I always stopped at a certain weight where I was like, oh, I can't do anymore. Like arm curls. I can do 15 pounds. I hit 10. I'm fatigued. I'm done. Right. And so I just capped it. I never tried 20s. If I tried 20s, I could maybe do one or two, but I just didn't see that as like sufficient, right? Like, oh, I can't do 15, so why would I do 20s? But that was the wrong idea, obviously, because that's not how you get stronger. So Mo taught me a lot about pushing that boundary and really lifting heavier and understanding how strength was built in that 6 weeks that we did together. And then also tweaking my diet, right? Really adding those two factors together to really profoundly see this difference in how my gym classes, when applied with a certain mentality and a certain intention, really just elevated my game. I felt stronger. I felt just like I had more energy. I felt healthier all around. And that transformation program really adds this edge that I take now into my classes, right? So I'm doing this thing now. I'm just calling it Sean's Performance Program, which he doesn't have one right now, but it's his 6-week strength training program. And I committed to this past round, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we've got about 2 more weeks after tomorrow. But I just go into it with this intention and this mentality that I learned from Mo's transformation program. And, when Mo gets in on you, you're like, it's that fire.
It is motivating. Motivation, 100%.
And it's that fire that I really, really lights it up for me when I'm in the gym and I'm in my mindset. It's really productive.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like that's a somewhat common obstacle for a lot of people is, you stop when it's hard, right? It's like, this feels hard enough and I don't think I can do anymore, right? And how would you know? You've never done anymore, so you would never know, right?
Right.
But it's putting yourself in an environment like that is going to push you a little bit harder than you would push yourself.
Right.
But the beauty of that is you see that you are capable of more than you thought you were.
Mm-hmm.
And you are able to do something that previously you thought was outside the realm of possibility for you.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you do that once, you start to see that I was able to do something that I didn't think was possible. Like I didn't think I could do. And then you did it.
Yeah.
That mindset flip is like, okay, well, what else can I do that I thought was impossible before? Right? Like what else can I apply that idea to? And obviously exercise, working out, lifting weights, like that's a very, applicable analogy to that.
Mm.
But there's so many other things that you can do with that, right? It's like once you realize, once that veil gets lifted, that you can do things beyond what you originally thought you could do.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's game changing.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Right. Then who knows, like what your limits are, right? Your limits are mostly in your head. But that's the first block is what you're telling yourself you can and cannot do. That's the first block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, getting over that is tricky and tough, but once you get over it once, it opens up a whole new world, and that's pretty cool. Again, another thing that I think was pretty pivotal for you was the Spartan race that we did, right? I mean, that was so that rolls right into application.
Yeah, we were still doing the transformation program. And Spartan Race, that was a really cool thing for me and Deb to join in on. It was the second year you guys did it. And as staff, it's a, kind of a team building event. And right off the bat, I said no. I was like, I'm not interested. And Deb was next to me when we were talking about it. And she said, oh, that would be so fun. And so I signed up. And
Real quick, for those people who maybe don't know what a Spartan race is, a Spartan race is a running race on foot, but there's a bunch of different obstacles along the way, right? So the one that we did was a 3 mile run, but there was like 20 or something obstacles. There's obstacles with things like, climbing a rope or doing like monkey bars or, hopping over different stuff, climbing over things, throwing a spear even.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Carrying a bunch of different, physical activities, carrying big 70-pound buckets filled with sand up a hill or stuff like that.
And stuff that I just don't have any interest in competing against, right?
Right.
And I went and with my competitive mentality, I was like a little nervous, but I knew it was for fun. And so I was just like, pace, and we all moved together as a herd. It was really, there's no competition, but it's really just getting through those obstacles, like in my head, like wanting to do the best I could, right?
Yeah.
And it was really neat to come out of that because there are a lot of things I thought I wasn't able, that I wouldn't be able to do, and I did. And then there's just one moment where just like, there's like this pulley thing. You have to pull a big, like 60-pound bag up, and it literally lifted me off. Like I had to like put my foot on the rail and pull. And there's this clip, and video just of Brandon like, cheering me on, and just having that extra energy, right? Again, be the energy and reflect that energy, and he helped me get through that obstacle. And it just overall, it was really neat to have that team push each other and make each other better and support each other. Also, it was humbling for me because I was, again, a gymnast. So I was like, oh, rings and monkey bars, like, kill this. And by the time I got to those obstacles, my grip strength was so shot from grabbing bags or lifting, just different things, or that I couldn't hold on, right? And so dropped on the monkey bars, dropped on the rings. Well, fast forward to this past year's Spartan. So 1 year later from the 2023 Spartan, I was like, I'm going to fucking work on my grip strength. And so throughout the year, I even bought our transformation program group little squeezy things to work on. You see some of them floating around in the gym, but I was serious about it. I was so disappointed with myself. And it just came down to grip strength. And so ultimately now, when I think about it and I'm lifting and working out, I'm not just holding those dumbbells. Like if I'm benching, I'm not just holding those dumbbells in an open grip. I'm squeezing the shit out of them. Like, and just because that's working your grip strength, right? And so, or just hanging, and holding on.
Right.
So anyways, fast forward, I was able actually to make it across the monkey bars. I fell in the rings this past year. So I'm just going to go and hold on to the bar and work on that grip strength and get through it. But it was nice to see that, like, look, I got better, and I'm, 46 now.
Well, dude, that's life, right? Things aren't going to just go the way you want or expect them to go always the first time, right? It's like, that's just not going to happen in life. And so you take it as it comes and you see, okay, what about this can I improve on? Like, what can I learn? What can I do better? Right. And then if it doesn't go the way you expect the first time, like, that's okay.
Right.
Just regroup and figure out what you need to do and then do it. And then that's a very good testimony to that, right? It's you figured out, okay, my grip strength is a limiting factor. I'm going to work on this. And then you were able to do a couple obstacles that you weren't able to do before because of that, right? And now reassessing how that went, you're going to do the same thing again and get even better the next time. And that's life, right? It's just these constant little continuous improvements
100%.
Moving forward and just realizing that it's not always going to go the way you expect. And you got to work on it.
And you can't just let every failure defeat you, right? Like otherwise we would be like sixth graders still. Like, we have to grow from these experiences. And it's so easy for me to say that because ultimately though, when I fail at something, I'm defeated, and that's something that even now I'm working on. I'm working on just being kind to myself and just reminding myself that like, hey, I'm fucking human at the end of the day. Like, it's okay to have all these emotions, but to like actually be defeated and not get up and not gain perspective, then you're just giving up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That is very, very cool. I mean, just to have also the community around you again was big because, I remember you, coming off that Spartan race, like you were bummed. You were bummed. You're like, oh, I'm a gymnast. I should have been able to do it, But, you had people around you there to help support you and help, move you through that process again. And that's been such a big, I think, staple in your life that's been awesome. That's been really cool. It's super cool. So there is a question that I've been waiting to ask. And it's, what does being the energy mean to you? And then how has your story up to this point taught you that? And like, how can we do more of that in our lives?
Okay. Tell me that. Ask me that first.
So what does be the energy mean to you? Like, what is that? How do you be the energy?
Okay, let me answer that. There's so many ways that we could do it, but I'm going to just reflect on this most recent snippet, and this happened this week. It was I have the Calm app, and there's Jay Shetty. He does this thing called the Daily J on it. Jay Shetty is he wrote the book How to Think Like a Monk. It's just a great book. And anyways, his little snippet was on like the energy of a smile, right? So like happiness can bring you smiles, right? But smiling can bring out happiness, right? And it's that exchange. It's an exchange of energy. Then he goes on to say, like just the research has shown that, if you smile, that it's automatically perceived as a more connected experience, a more open invite to, connection, right? So I listened to that in the morning. I went to the gym. Wednesday morning, worked out in Sean's lifting class with my buddy Garrett, who I'm doing Sean's transformation program with. We're very committed to it. And it was just a good class. It was uplifting. It was, I just felt more awake, more alert. And I just had more energy. I get home, get ready for work. Wednesday's my clinic day. Usually, I don't love clinic days because I'm really trying to like get people on board to follow my plan and, get healthy and, do the best they can for this spine pain. But, so usually it's like a day where I don't enjoy. It was probably one of my most uplifting days that I've had in years. Okay. And that was because of this intention of connecting. They were smiling. And it was like sometimes kind of forced. I was like, I literally was in the car like, making kind of goofy practicing, just forcing a smile, right? Which they say is still, leads to this energy, right? So it was really neat. I felt like I was helping people more that day. They felt like they were really, that I was helpful. They they mentioned it, and it was just more lighthearted. It wasn't work. It wasn't so hard, right? And so, how I bring the energy, it's intention. It's trying to, um, it's black. Oh, okay. Is trying to, you know, be the best version of myself. It's connecting. It's connecting and tapping into, checking into with my people. I just thrive off of that. So that's my best answer for that right now in this point in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it's a process, you know, you will continue to grow and it'll continue to evolve and think about that. But I mean, it sounds like, you know, your definition of that and the connection aspect of it has been a huge part of your life.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
So really appreciate you coming on and sharing that because that means a lot to me. That means a lot to a lot of people. I know that you help a lot of people. You are somebody who is the energy for a lot of other people. And though you said you have this community around you that you're so fortunate to be able to lean on and this safety net around you, but you truly are a safety net and someone that a lot of other people lean on. And so that is super special and we really appreciate you.
Yeah.
And thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah. I appreciate that. That's nice. It's good to hear those things,
100%.
Yeah.
Well, man, we'll keep it up.
Thanks.